So, I want to come on here quickly to talk about unconditional other acceptance, which is accepting other people. And it's something that I think doesn't get enough credit as something important to work on the OCD recovery journey because most people that are coming in are people who have problems with unconditional self acceptance, right? Because they are thinking about guilt and shame, things that they may or may not have done, obsessing about the past, or about even like current events that may be happening, and so many different things, which obviously plays into any and every kind of theme that happens. But unconditional other acceptance is so important because it's kind of like the other side of the coin of self acceptance, because the way that we see ourselves is often the way that we are judging other people as well. So Carl Jung essentially said this at some point, which is, I'm paraphrasing, of course, which is that what we dislike about other people are often things that we dislike about ourselves. And I do believe that that's true in many instances. I have for sure felt like that myself. And what I'm trying to say is that I think we sometimes miss the piece of the puzzle where the way that we are beating ourselves up for things that we feel guilty about or shameful of are is very reflective of how we often beat other people up for mistakes or things that they do. We're oftentimes people who are hard on themselves. When I speak to them, I often find that they are also very quick to judge other people and very harshly as well. So not only do I have to help them work on self-acceptance, but I also have to help them change their perspectives on how they're perceiving other people. Because if they're going to be very harsh in their judgments towards other people, then they are also going to be harsh about their judgments towards themselves as well. So, I mean, I've said the same thing with many different sentences just to get the point across over here, how both those things are very much interlinked. I just had a one-to-one call today about this as well, because it was someone who was being very harsh towards themselves, and someone not having any compassion for themselves for making potential mistakes in the past. But when they were also speaking about other people in their lives, they were using like a lot of, like, you can say, demeaning language, a lot of derogatory language towards other people as well. And I said to them, I said, like, this is something you really have to change as well, because ultimately, like, you holding that kind of like anger and bitterness towards other people, where's that really getting you, and how is that really helping you have healthier, more accepting, rational beliefs about human beings, and even about yourself for that matter? Because if you're going to be harsh towards them, you're ultimately going to be harsh towards yourself. And these are not people that may be even currently a part of your life. These are people that could have been a part of your life maybe from many years ago, maybe even a decade ago, maybe 15 years ago. People come in all the time, and they are talking about, obsessions or anger about things that have happened many, many years ago. Whether it's about themselves, or whether they're assigning that blame towards like a parent or a sibling or whoever it may be. And what happens is that if when you're assigning that level of like visceral negative emotion towards external things, you're also then putting blame on things for your own suffering, right? You're not taking accountability for your own perspectives and beliefs about things. That, again, I speak about this all the time, is because I've experienced it also myself as well. I've been through that. So it's not just me saying this to other people, it's also the same standard that I apply to myself as well, which is that if something happened to you 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you're still like talking about it with the same raw, visceral emotion today, it's no longer the fault of that person or that situation, it's your fault. You're the one who's keeping that level of resentment and that level of emotional turmoil alive in your life. You're the one who is then making that a definitional part of your own life. And it almost becomes this compulsive addictive cycle as well, because you then don't know anything outside of that perspective or outside of that feeling. So in order to stick to it, and in order to have some sense of, I don't know, like, justice or recognition of the fact that you were right and others were wrong, and you were the victim in it, and you were the one who was like done wrong in that situation, again. But how, if that really brought like a long-term sense of peace and calm, you wouldn't feel the need to even talk about it anymore. You wouldn't feel that sense of raw emotion in talking about it in the present moment anymore. Would have been long gone. It wouldn't feature into your conversations anymore. So one of the ways that I also work with people on accepting themselves sometimes is also because when you apply the situation to yourself, sometimes it's hard to apply to your own self and apply that kind of compassion and acceptance to yourself because it's you. Like it's kind of like that principle of that if something is happening in your own backyard, then obviously it's harder to deal with it versus if it's happening somewhere else. So then I try to say to people if they're really struggling to look at things from a more accepting, rational angle for themselves, I tell them to take a detour and I say, okay, try and look at other people in that situation. And if you can't apply that to yourself, try and apply it to other people and see if that helps. If that helps loosen up that rigid thinking of that sheer level of rejection that you're giving yourself and others, and see if that can help move the needle a little bit with acceptance, right? And sometimes it really does help because when you are able to put someone else in that position and you apply that same situation to them, you can see that you can have more compassion for them. But by the way, interestingly enough, sometimes it's also the inverse thing. I will have people who will be more accepting towards themselves for making certain mistakes, but not accepting towards other people for making that mistake, and they will be very judgmental towards them. So then I have to kind of like flip the framework a little bit and go in an inverse way on that. But I think you like because I haven't seen anyone make a tremendous amount of progress by only accepting themselves and just thinking that other people are shit. Like I'm yet to come across anyone who has successfully been able to work on themselves because if you're able to have some sense of peace or whatever with your own self, but you're still just like in some ways hateful towards other people or extremely judgmental towards other people, I wouldn't say that's acceptance. I think that's you having some inflated sense of self and you thinking that maybe you're like some step above other people in that way. And that's never really a healthy, I think, framework to live by. I don't think that's I don't think that's helpful by any means ever, really. And I'm not saying you can never ever consider yourself better in some regard than other people. Of course, I mean, even I do. I think there are certain things that I am better at than some others that I know when it comes to maybe that personality trait or maybe, I don't know, that perhaps that skill or whatever it may be. Like, I think I mean, I would like to think, I think I'm a good communicator, and I think many people are sometimes not good communicators. So it's okay to also recognize that, okay, maybe that you can be better at certain things than other people, but I don't see that as like the cornerstone of my personality. I don't see that as, oh, because I'm a good communicator, therefore I'm better than this person. That never factors into my mind. It's never like I never see it as anyone like above and less, and because again, if I start doing that, I think I'll just that's where self-esteem comes into play, right? And which is why self-esteem is not just sustainable, especially for OCD sufferers. It's not a good long-term format of thinking because self-esteem is something that always feels like you always have to maintain it. Like if you feel like, okay, I'm better than other people and I'm here, you're not going to find peace, and you're always going to be walking on eggshells thinking, okay, shit, now I have to maintain this level of aboveness from other people, kind of thing. And that's where, the book The Myth of Self-Esteem is a really helpful one, because self-esteem is different from self-acceptance, right? Self-acceptance is more geared towards accepting flaws and accepting mistakes and accepting that there can be exceptions to the rule. That even with me, for instance, like I overall, yes, I consider myself a good communicator, but I'm not also perfectionistic about it either. That just because I'm a good communicator means that I always have to be a good communicator. I'm also accepting of the fact that there will be many situations, and there have been. Even in recent, in recent weeks, I feel like there have been moments where I was actually a bad communicator. But even in the scheme of how I think of myself, I'm okay with sometimes not falling on that standard that I feel like maybe I usually do fall on. When it comes to self-esteem, what you're thinking that is that, oh, because I'm a good communicator, I always have to be this, and if I am bad at it, then I can't stand it. So there's a difference in that. But yeah, I mean, I just want to make a quick note on this because I think unconditional other acceptance is not something that is talked about enough. Or I think a lot of people don't even focus on it enough because they're mostly just thinking about themselves and obsessing about themselves and what they have done and what they think about themselves. But oftentimes it is very much in relation to what you think of other people as well. So yeah, just something to keep in mind this Sunday, and maybe think of ways that you can challenge that view of yourself, and also view of how you think of other people in that regard. So let me know if this was helpful. If you have a question, obviously let me know, and yeah, we'll take it from there. We also have a subscription service now, and the benefit of the subscription service is that you can come in for weekly calls and you can attend as many webinars as are happening in that subscription period, and of course you get access to the WhatsApp group as well, and you can have a more regular check-in and more structure with your recovery journey. So if that's something that interests you, you can message us on our WhatsApp number, which is linked in the description below. Reach out to Phil at ocdrecovery.com. He can help you out. He's the one who also operates our WhatsApp number as well. So you'll find him either on WhatsApp or on email. So I hope that helps, and get in touch with us. We can really help you with this. I can help you with perspectives on this as well if you're struggling with that. I struggled with this myself as well. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.